Do you want to make better lead magnets to increase your conversion rates and book more calls for your agency? If you want to learn how to make lead magnets like this, or like this, or like this, then make sure to watch until the end because I'm not holding anything back. These are called interactive lead magnets, which allow your leads to get real insights on their current situation. Before I show you exactly how to build each one of these three different types of lead magnets from scratch and the pros and cons for each different method, let me actually show you some proof that implementing these can actually have a positive impact in your agency. To do that, I'm going to be using some data that was collected by Algoro, and there's three main points of conversation that I think will be interesting to you. First is conversion rates. Now, this is probably one of the things that you guys probably care most about. From the data, it showed that conversion rates with an interactive content had an average of 43% compared to the 40% average without interactive content. So that basically means if you get 1,000 leads, with what I'm about to show you today, you can get 430 conversions compared to the 140. So immediately, that's already a massive win. The second fun fact as to why this might be interesting to you as an agency owner is to do with the bounce rate. Now, if you don't know, bounce rate is basically the percentage of visitors who actually see a single page over the total number of actual visitors. On average, the bounce rate with these interactive tools is 17%, and without it is 62%. I mean, the difference here is massive, guys. You basically get more for your ad spend if you were to use something like this. But the last fun fact, which to me is probably the craziest one, I'm going to explain to you exactly why, and it comes with social sharing. On average, 28% of every single person that goes through an interactive lead magnets like the one I'm about to show you in this video, 28% of them are likely to share it with someone else, compared to the 3% on average without interactive content. So that basically means that nearly a third of every single lead that you have is going to share this with a friend. The reason why this is so crazy to me is if you were to pay for 500 leads, you basically get an additional 140 leads from the people that actually get shared the lead magnet by doing absolutely nothing. If that hasn't convinced you as to why you actually need to integrate these interactive lead magnets within your agency, then I don't know what will. Now, in this example, I'm going to be building a LTGP to CAC ratio calculator. This is basically just a ratio out to the lifetime gross profit and the customer acquisition cost. If you watch any of Alex and Ozzy's content, you've definitely seen this before. And by the way, I've got a whole video going over 15 different numbers you need to track in your agency, so check that out if you want to. Now, the kind of principle for all these different three lead magnets I'm going to show you are fairly similar because all we're doing here is getting the lead to fill in different information, which I need to actually calculate the ratio. We're going to collect it. We're going to use some maths to actually do some bit of calculation, and then we're going to find that ratio for them. Obviously, this is just an example I'm going to be using in this video. You need to have a think about what your clients actually care about to actually make a really, really useful lead magnet. And the key to actually doing this is just making a full solution to a specific problem. So in the example I'm using today with the lifetime gross profit calculator, I'm really making a full solution by just allowing the user to implement the numbers and then get the ratio straight away. That's exactly what you should be aiming for. It doesn't have to be a calculation. It can also be a different checklist, different things like that. But if you actually watch until the end, I'm going to be going through a ton of more examples to show you different ideas of how you can actually implement this in your agency. So let's get straight into it. There's three different types we've been going over, but we'll start with the first one. Now, this is kind of like the bootleg version. It's definitely not the best, but it'll get the job done. All this basically is a form and an automation to deliver that lead magnet to the actual employee. So they basically go, they fill out the form, and then they get email with the results. There's two steps actually setting up. The first thing we actually need to do is set up the form. Now, in this example, I'm using Google Sheets, but it doesn't really matter. You can use whatever you want. But the one really, really important thing you need to account for is you need to collect the email because this is actually how we're going to be sharing the results. So if I show you an example of the form I'm actually using in this scenario, it's a very, very simple form. All I'm doing is collecting different statistics such as the average monthly churn, the average price of a customer, the average marketing cost, how many clients did you actually acquire, and obviously the email in the last question. So we can then put these numbers in together in automation and we're going to build in the next step and send in the results straight away. So this is the form. Obviously, you'd have to tailor it depending on the specific things that you need to kind of deliver the value to your leads. Now let's go over and actually create the automation. Now, this automation is actually how we're going to be sharing these incredibly useful lead magnet with our team. The first thing you need to do to actually do that is get yourself an automation tool. Now, these are basically just no-code tools. They're very, very easy to use. The two main ones are Zapier and Make. There's a massive discussion about which one's better or which one you should use. In my opinion, use whichever one you like. They both have free trials, so I always recommend to sign up to both, make the most of the free trial, and trying to figure out whichever works best for you. In this example, I'm going to be using make.com just because in my community, I recently did a poll and it showed me that basically 100% of everyone in there was using make.com. So in order to best serve them, I'm just going to make more make.com kind of solutions in different videos. If you want to see more Zapier content, just leave a comment below and I'll try to do the best of both, which I'm already doing kind of now. This automation we're going to be building now is fairly simple. All we're doing is waiting for a form response, doing some maths to actually calculate the whatever value we want to give them, and then sharing the results in the email. let's go over to make.com and actually build this automation out. Now, within the make.com account that I actually use for YouTube, I'm just going to go over in the top right hand corner and create a new scenario. And the trigger for this scenario is going to be a form completion within Google Sheets. So my first module, I'm going to search for Google Sheets, Google Forms, sorry, not Google Sheets, apologies. And if we scroll down, we want to watch the responses. So this is where we're going to search for a form. Now, the easiest way to do this is by going to search and then just enter the name of your actual form. So in this example, is the interactive example, LDGP to CAC ratio. So if I go back here and actually search for it, now it should come up automatically in our form ID. Now, in terms of the actual limit, this basically means the amount of forms that you'll be able to process at once. This is going to depend on your volume. The way make.com works is a bit different to actual Zapier, is that you need to set an interval for it to actually check for new responses. So for example, if you're going to be getting more than 2 or even 5 form responses in a space of 15 minutes, you want to go back over here to the limit and obviously increase it to kind of match you better. For now, I'm just going to leave it at 2 and I'm going to leave it to 15 minutes. You can also change this to, let's say, 5 minutes, depending on your make.com plan. But keep in mind, the higher the frequency is, the more operations are actually going to take up of your plan. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's basically the form. Now, if I go ahead and actually run this and I choose a date of a couple of days ago, we should be able to see this coming in. You can see we have that first admission I did a couple of days ago. That's the data we're actually going to be using. Now let's go over and do the maths for different sections. So within Make, if you add another module and you just literally search for maths, you have this nice little app right here to evaluate a math expression. I think that's the easiest way to do it. So let's actually show you how to do it. Now, within my own equation, there's 3 different things we need to calculate. First, we need to calculate the lifetime gross profit. Then we need to actually calculate the CAC, which is the customer acquisition cost. And then we need to actually calculate that ratio to what it actually looks like. So in order to do this, I'm going to be using 3 different math modules. So the first one's going to be my lifetime gross profit. And all I'm going to do here to actually calculate it, I'm going to use this equation right here, which I'll keep on the screen for you to actually get a reference. So I'm going to put bracket 1 divided by the actual monthly churn, which is right here. In order to get the answer, I want to open this up, open up text answers, open up answers again, and then enter that value. And then I'm going to be dividing that by 100. So what I'm actually going to do is add another bracket here, divided by 100 in order to get a decimal. And then I'm going to be doing double brackets and timesing that by the average monthly price per customer minus the average monthly cost of a fill per customer. Once again, I covered this whole thing in a different video. So if you want to check that out, check out this video right here. Cool. And that's pretty much it for here. So I'm going to press OK. To make my life also a bit easier, I'm going to rename this to lifetime gross profit. So I have an idea later. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing for CAC. So I'm going to go over to math, evaluate math expression, and this time all we want to do is get the ratio between all the kind of marketing and sales costs divided by the number of customers actually acquired. So I'm going to go double bracket and add in the marketing costs just like that, and then I'm going to add also the sales cost for the quarter just like that. Then I'm going to be dividing that whole thing by the number of customers that actually acquired, and that will actually be able to give me my CAC just like that. Double brackets, and cool, we're good. Now the last thing I need to do is basically put these guys together in order to calculate the ratio. So for that, I'm just going to run a module. I'm going to add these answers so I actually have something to play around with. So here I can put 10, here I can add in 5,000, and here I can add in 2,000, just as an example. And if I run it, I should get a number, get 30,000, which is my lifetime gross profit in that example. And then I'll do the exact same thing for the CAC. I'm going to put this to 20,000, 20,000, and then I'm going to keep this at 10. Once again, this just gives you an idea. Make sure you can double check your math to make sure everything looks right. So the cost to actually acquire someone in this example is 4,000, which if we have a lifetime gross profit a bit higher isn't bad at all. Now we have to do the last math expression. So for that, I'm gonna add another math module, and all I'm gonna basically do is divide the lifetime gross profit by the actual CAC. So I'm gonna go over here and then press divide by CAC. And that will actually give me the ratio that I actually require. So I'm gonna press OK. So that's pretty much it for the calculation side of things. Obviously, this is just an example. There's different ways you probably need to do the maths, but the main aim of what I'm about to do now is show you how simple it actually is to set this up. The last thing I actually do is set another module for Gmail, and all we're actually doing here is sending the results in an email. Now, I always say this, when you're dealing with automation, it's always best to send an email in HTML, but in this example, I'm just going to leave it as it is. So this is the content I'm going to be sending. Let me go ahead and kind of remove this. I'm going to enter the result here, and I'm going to enter this here, and perfect. That's pretty much done. Now the only thing you need to add here, once you've actually connected your email account, you add the 2, and here you need to add the email from the form. So if I go over to where should we send the results, you want to open up further, open up text answers, open up answers again, and then enter that value so they actually have somewhere to send it to. And then for the subject, you can put results are in ... Perfect. And if we actually go ahead and test this, you'll get something like this, where your client just sees the results. Once again, this isn't formatted properly because I didn't go down the HTML road, but if you didn't want to format this and make it much more applicable to the specific things that you're doing and much nicer for the client to actually look at, All you want to do is just copy and paste this message, enter into ChatGPT and ask it to format the HTML, and then just input the HTML straight in the text box within automation, and I'll make it look a lot nicer. One thing I will say, guys, if you want this automation template and any of the resources I've talked about in this video, check out the first link in the description to access the community. Within there, you'll find the resources from the specific video completely for free. So make the most of that if you like. And that's pretty much it, guys. We've now been able to set up the first lead magnet that whenever our lead fills out this form, they get the results based on their pain points to give them an understanding of where they're at in the current situation. Now, in terms of the pros and cons for this, we'll start with the pros. Firstly, it's a very easy setup. It literally took me less than 5 minutes. It's quite simple. Secondly, you can use different triggers. Obviously, in this example, I use a Google form, but there's a ton of other things you can do, such as a Facebook lead form straight from an ad. You know, there's different possibilities here, which makes it a bit versatile. Secondly, it's very easy for the client to fill out. I mean, all they have to do is basically fill out the form and then the results are in. And the last kind of main pro of using this is that you can easily upgrade using AI and kind of developing the automation a bit more to get much better results for your clients. There's two main cons for this. Firstly, it's relatively slow. And the key word there is relatively. It's not slow. I mean, it happens instantaneously. But for your client, there's a lot of steps because they have to go from the form and then open an email, which is a bit inconvenient compared to other two things where it's directly just there. The second con is that it's not that interactive. Don't get me wrong, they're filling out a form, but that's exactly what they're doing. They're filling out a form. So it's not as interactive as other things I'm going to show you in this video, which may cause your conversion rates to be a bit lower. So in general, I'm going to rate this one 4 out of 10. Definitely not bad, but these two that we're going to be talking about in a second are much better. Also, guys, just a very quick disclaimer. Obviously, everything I'm showing today is just an example. There's obviously other ways to do this. This is just the ones I'm going to be talking about in this video. Secondly, don't focus too much on the tools. If you're using Zapier, for example, you can do this exact same thing. They just have different steps. If you focus on the frameworks, you get much more value from this video. And lastly, guys, we don't hold anything back, so make sure to actually enjoy yourself. Now let's go over to the second type, which is a better version than the first type, but still not the best. So in this example, we're basically creating a Google Sheet that a client will have access to. They can import their data and then they can automatically get the results. I'll show you what this actually looks like. As you can see, we have this nice little Google Sheet. All the client has to do is import their data here. So we're on 7%, then change this to 8,000, for example, basically just input in their numbers. And then they get the results here and actually the ratio, as well as a little message basically showing them they're not doing too bad. This is what we're going to be setting up from scratch. Now, I will say this is going to be as in-depth as a Google Sheets app, and there's a lot of different things that you actually need to do when setting this up properly and formatting in different ways. This is kind of like a quick fire video. So if you want a much more in-detailed video going over specific Google Sheets and how you can kind of format it to re-retake this to your specific requirements, then drop a comment below and I'll be more than happy to record it for you guys. But for now, let's go over to a blank sheet and actually set this up from scratch. So I'm just going to go ahead and add another sheet. So we're literally starting from scratch here, and let's go over and actually build this. So the first thing I need is kind of all the different numbers I'm going to be collecting from the client. In this example, these are the only things. So we have the average monthly churn, average monthly price, the cost, the marketing cost, the sales cost, and the number of customers acquired. These are the numbers in my specific example. Obviously, you have to tailor it to your specific needs. This is actually where they're going to be inputting the data. So for that, I'm just going to change the color here and make it a nice gray. Just make it a bit clear this is where you have to do it. And then I'm also going to go over to view, and I'm going to hide the grid lines just to make it very clear that this is where they need to enter the data. Now, in terms of the data, I will add some example data just to make our life a bit easier. The main thing here, guys, is not really the format, it's the formula they actually need and the process I actually show you to actually get the results. So there's 3 different results we actually need. I'm going to go ahead and paste them right here. And that means there's 3 different formulas. So this is kind of similar to the previous one. Now, this formula is slightly more complicated because I don't want to show any data if it's actually missing. So in this example, there is, but if I go ahead and actually delete this, you can see it just shows add your data. Honestly, guys, when it comes to Google Sheets formulas, ChatGPT will be your best friend. It's the easiest way to do it, and it's exactly what I use every single time. So let me just go ahead and add a random number here. You can see now we have the formula. Now this formula is pretty simple. It just checks if C7, C8, or C9 are blank, which are the numbers we actually need. If they're not, it goes ahead and just shows the formula. But if they are, it just shows add your data. So it's very clear to the user using this that they actually need to add the data in order to get the results. Similar formula for the LTGP. The only difference here, obviously using different numbers. So in this case, it's C4, C5, C6, which once again correspond to these guys right here. And the last equation is a bit more complicated because I'm inputting a ratio, but the way I'm actually inputting the ratio is as its own text because we want to put it as a ratio, not just its own number. So in order to do that, we want to once again have that filter that asks us to add the data if these two are there. But if it's not, it's going to calculate the formula and add the ... 1 right next to it. So this is kind of what it looks like. Obviously, the decimals have to be reformatted properly. So we can go ahead and change that. But you get an idea. If I go ahead and change this to a better number, for example, 40,000, There you go. So it actually goes ahead and actually shows a crack. Now, if you want to format it the same way I did in this video, once again, ChatGPT will be your best friend when it comes to Google Sheets. But now you have a good understanding of how to actually create this Google Sheet and based on your specific formulas. Once again, templates are available in the first link in the description. Now that we've actually built this Google Sheet, let's talk about the pros and cons. I'll start with the pros once again. This is a very, very good choice if you're doing something a bit more complicated, that has complex formulas. You can also tie in different tasks or even a checklist if you'd like. If you ever used Google Sheet before, you know there's actually a lot you can do surprisingly well. The main kind of pro with this, which is the reason it's rated the second best in the list, is that for the viewer to actually see this, they need to first make a copy of the sheet. Because if they go ahead and actually edit the original sheet, they're going to go ahead and edit it for everyone. So in order to actually share this with someone, you have to force them basically to make a copy. Now, there are two kind of different hacks to do that. Firstly, if you change the link, specifically the end part of the link from this to this, it'll take the lead to this link right here, so they automatically just make a copy. So it's very, very easy for them. They don't have to go through any steps. Another way to actually solve that is you can actually create an automation that whenever a trigger comes in, so for example a lead form, whatever, it automatically creates a duplicate for them, and there you can actually add different things such as automatically changing the name by changing these little brackets right here and inputting any data. Not the best solution, but it's kind of a workaround to that problem of having to make a copy for your clients. The last main pro of this is that it needs to be paired with something else. You can't directly collect the email. You first need to collect the email in order to then give them access to the sheet, which is a bit annoying. However, it does work very, very well, especially like I said, if you're doing a bit more complicated things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do straight from form or straight from the next step. So all in all, I'm going to go ahead and actually rate this a 6 out of 10. Once again, not bad at all, but could be a lot better. Now let's move on to the last type of interactive lead magnet, which in my opinion is the best. This is basically its own custom page, and I'll show you exactly what this looks like to make it life a bit easier. It's completely interactive. All the client needs to do is kind of move the results just like that, and then on the right hand side they get the results straight away. Now there's a bunch of different ways to actually do this, whether you're actually setting up your own application or using something like the tool I'm going to be showing you in this video to do it straight away, making your life much easier. But I do genuinely think this is the best solution when it comes to interactive lead magnets, and I'll talk about the pros in a second once we actually build it. So to build this, we're going to be using a tool called Outgrow. Now they make it very, very easy to actually set up your kind of custom interactive lead magnet and just publish it straight away. I'll give you an example of this one. As you can see on the left hand side, I even enter my questions, and massive pro about this is that it's so easy to collect an email. As you can see here, where can we share some resources, the name, email, and then you just have to press get my results in order to take them to that results page I showed you a second ago. On the left hand side is where you can set different questions. Now they have a bunch of different options, from number sliders, ratings, numeric sliders. I mean, there's really so much you can do here. It's fully customizable. Even the color, right? If I go over to the overall design, I can change different things such as the logo, the background, the different fonts, everything like that. I can really make this my own. Like I said, I do think this is the best solution. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I don't even have an affiliate link. But previously, I set up a tool similar to this, and I did it from scratch using code. And honestly, it was a bit of a headache. Didn't even work properly. But with this, I was able to make this in less than 10 minutes and just publish it straight away for the video. So I really suggest you check them out. Now, it isn't all sunshine and rainbows with these guys, and I'll get into the pros and pros in a second. But from what I've seen, it's the best and easiest way to create a really powerful interactive lead magnet, which you can embed straight into your website. But once again, I'll get into the pros in a second. In terms of the pros and cons, there's 3 main pros and only 1 main con. One of the main pros of this is that you can automatically embed this in so many different things. So you can have a full page of it, you can have it in page on your website, you can even have it as a pop-up or a chat button within the website. So there's a lot of different ways you can actually embed this straight into your specific use case. Secondly, this is the one where you get the most design options. You can really tailor this to your specific circumstances. And lastly, there's literally no delay. I mean, as you saw when I was kind of going through results, the results will show up on the right hand side. So everything's in one place, and it makes it very easy for your lead to get the results without having to copy the sheet, without having to check their email. Everything's all in one place, which is a bit advantageous for the lead, so they don't have to waste their time swapping to different platforms or trying to figure out how to actually use something. It's very user friendly. The main con, which in all honesty isn't really a con, but it's the pricing. As with many tools out there, you do have to pay for this. It's about $14 a month if you choose the annual plan. I think if you don't, it's about $22 a month, which is still very competitive for what you're actually getting. So if you want to check them out, search for Outgrow, I believe it's called, and you can check out the different plans. They do have a free trial, so if you want to set this up first and then test it and then kind of hop on the plan, I was just doing that first. Now, in terms of this, I'll rate this a 9 out of 10. The only reason it's not 10 out of 10 because nothing's perfect. it will have its own disadvantages in terms of what you can actually do because you're not fully making it yourself and it's not fully custom internal application. However, in most cases, it will be a 10 out of 10. So make sure to check them out if you want to build a really, really powerful interactive lead magnet. But guys, that's pretty much it. I've now shown you how you can actually build 3 different types of interactive lead magnets, the pros and cons for each one. And I've also given my personal rating as to which one I think you should go for. I think the best option is type 3. However, type 2 specifically has a lot of different use cases because you can do a lot with Google Sheets. And in the past, I've set up some crazy lead magnets on Google Sheet for my clients, which are really, really valuable. The only problem with that is that they do have to copy the sheet, but you can overcome it using the link option or even the automation I showed you earlier. That's pretty much it from me, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. We post weekly content going over exactly how you can kind of optimize your operations using different things like automations, interactive lead magnets, custom internal platforms, and so much more. So if this video was valuable, make sure to like and subscribe so that YouTube shows you more of this content on your feed. And I've mentioned it throughout the video, but if you want access to any of the resources from the automation templates, the forms, or even the mind map that I use in this video, you can check out the first link in the description to actually join our community. Within there, we have the resources from this video, but also 20 plus different resources from every single one of our other YouTube videos all in one place. Within that, you also get one-to-one access to myself and over 100 agency owners who are actually looking to set up scale-proof systems. And the best part is that it's 100% free. It doesn't cost you a penny. So if you want to check it out, use the first link in the description to actually join. And I'm sure I'll see you inside if any of that was interesting. The last thing I'll say, guys, is that don't finish your learning here. If you want to learn how to automatically send this interactive lead magnet you just built before a sales call, or even use another lead magnet that I used in the previous video, you can check out this video right here. This basically shows you an ideal format of what you need to send to your leads before a sales call in order to increase your close rate. It's one of my favorite videos I recorded and it is extremely valuable. So I recommend you check that out. But apart from that, guys, that's it from me today. A bit of a shorter video. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions about anything I talked about today, make sure to leave a comment below or even in the community if you'd like. And I'll be there to actually support you guys. We're a very, very small channel. So if you have a question, we're 100% going to see it and give you an in-depth response. So don't be shy. It's been a pleasure actually recording this video. Make sure to check out all the free resources in the comments. And yeah, that's it. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.